The Parsons Perspective. Hosted by Legends of Saltwater Fishing, Captain Lee Parsons. Sponsored by Icon Coolers, the cool alternative.
What makes Fish Spook? Noise, number one. Number two is all fish have lateral lines. And they sense a pressure wave with that lateral line. They feel the difference. A boat is like a dolphin to a red drum or something like that. They feel you coming, they know you're coming, and they get tense and on edge. Probably the biggest mistake most people make is wanting to rush. Yes, you want to cover bottom, but at the same time, you've got to go slow enough to where it's not going to affect the fish feeling you coming. The other thing is with the trolling motor, especially in North Carolina, we have a lot of oysters, a lot of shells. And they stick up from the bottom sometimes 6, 7, 8 inches. And you go running along and all of a sudden your trolling motor hits one of them, bam. Well, you just signaled every fish in that area in skinny water that, hey, you're coming, there's something going on. I'm lucky in North Carolina that we have a lot of crabbers. And the crabbers come in there to check their pots and do things like that. And fish get used to where a crab pot is because they'll shake out all the old stuff and the drum will go over to it, check it out. Sometimes they eat some of the old stuff, or the crabs get attracted to the old stuff and they go eat the crabs. So whenever I'm in North Carolina fishing, I will go and run to the crab pot closest to the area I want to fish. I'll act like a crabber and I'll stop the boat right beside the crab pot. I'll put the trolling motor down and ease away from the crab pot and get the boat situated to where I'm ready to fish. So you've got to be aware of your boat speed, your boat wake is, lack of a better way, boat wave, a pressure wave that'll send to the fish. And you've got to be aware not to stomp your feet. You got to learn how to walk lightly in shallow water inside the boat. It makes a big difference. Texas, they get out of the boat and they actually wade to trout fish because they think, and they're right, that the fish feel the boat. And without a doubt, the fish feel the boat. But you can be sneaky enough by staying far enough away and by being stealthy in the boat and quiet in the boat to where you can get closer to the fish. One of the first things I tell my clients is, don't stomp the boat. Don't sit there with your foot and bang the cooler with your foot because you're nervous and bored. Don't slam the cooler lid. All that affects what the fish feels and makes them spooky. The more comfortable you can keep the fish, the more fish you'll catch. There again, I've said it before, I cast very long distances. I cast as far as I can possibly cast and keep the boat as far away from the fish as I can. A lot of times when I'm going to fish a shoreline, I'll stop what I call 2 casts off the shoreline. And I'll go down the bank and I'll cast where the boat's going to be when I move closer to the shoreline. Drum like to run the shoreline and I like to drum fish, so I'm referring to drum here more than anything else. Flounder and that kind of thing, they could be anywhere. Speckled trout, they could be out on the flat or they could be up against the bank. But I'll tend to start most of the time 2 casts off the bank and cast very long distances. So I'm actually 3 casts off the bank. I'm fishing the 2nd cast off the bank. And I'll go down there. If I don't get bit, I'll move into where I've been casting, and then I'll cast to the shoreline. And that helps you not spook the fish as much as if you run on in there and you run right where the fish may be. Because a lot of times the fish are 2 casts off the bank or 1 cast off the bank, especially drum fishing. So keep your trolling motor as quiet as you can. Try not to stomp your feet. I've got clients that I love to death, but they cannot walk without stomping their feet. And they stomp their feet all the time, which makes my job that much harder. Especially in the wintertime, they've got big clunky boots on and they're boom, 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 boom. And I just think to myself, oh Lord. I had some kids on the boat the other day, and one of them just could not stop kicking the coolers he was sitting on with his foot, you know, doom, 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 doom. And I grabbed his foot and I said, please don't do that. Please don't do that. The fish hear it. And 5 minutes later, he was right back banging the cooler again. And it affects what happens during the day when that happens. You know, but don't push the trolling motor hard, especially in the summertime, because you can't see the fish. And if you do, then you're liable to spook from where they're sitting. And most of the time, a drum will not come back to that for quite a while. You know, if you're going to do that and you bump them, you're better off coming back a day or 2 later and fishing that spot. Remember where they were sitting and stay far enough out where you can cast that spot they're sitting in. Got one client, he tickles me, calls me a fish whisperer. Well, I don't whisper fish. I just remember where they sit, and I go to a specific spot and I fish that spot because that's where they usually sit in. And he can't see them. I can't see them either. I just happen to know where they sit. So stay away from the fish, number 1. Slow your trolling motor down, number 2. Don't make noises in the boat, and don't go from one side of the boat to the other real hard. I have a flat bottom boat, so if you do that, you can really see the roll of the pressure wave that the boat puts off. And like I say, fish think of a boat wake as a big dolphin coming up on them, a big porpoise. And that just spooks them and kind of shuts them down. So those are just some common little tips to hopefully make you get closer to the fish with your lure to where you can catch more of them. The further away you stay, the more you'll catch.